Goeiemorgen, good morning, kia ora, and to my Capetonian friends away. Guys and girls, this morning started off chilly. The video footage you saw there was a previous recorded attempt of mine that we played around with. But this morning started off down here in Tauranga at 5 degrees Celsius. So spoken to some people on the South Island yesterday as well, and presumably the weather isn't much better that side. It has snowed down south. It has snowed in the North Island on Mount Rapeo as well. So skiing is very soon on the table when we get the lockdown lifted. But this morning, it's not about ski. It's not about me. It's all about you guys. And we are talking to Leoni. Good morning, Leoni.
Good morning. Yeah, hi, everybody.
How are you this morning?
Good.
See, you've got a hot top on as well, so...
Yes, we put on the heater last night for the first time during the night. So yeah, it's chilly in Auckland as well.
Okay, I actually started my aircon this morning at 4 o'clock when I woke up. So I thought I'll just get it up and running because this morning at 5 degrees, I thought it's gonna be cold. So, all right, Leoni, interesting times we're living in. Interesting things happening, but bad things happening as well. A lot of people have lost their jobs. And that's more why I brought you in this morning to talk to you about people that are in New Zealand that have lost their jobs. I know there's a lot of South Africans that are looking for jobs in New Zealand, but the current problem is even if they get a job, they won't be able to come here because there's no flights.
Yeah.
So the guys currently in New Zealand that have lost their job, what is the best way for them going forward to look for other work?
Okay, so let's start the topic. I had one or two other things that I'm going to bring up in the conversation just randomly.
Please do.
Yeah, but I think at the moment it's all about networking. It's talking to people. It's not you're not in this alone. And there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help. The government has even set up a website. I'll post it on my page's stream later. But the government has set up a website that employers and employees can connect with each other directly. So employers are coming to the party and actually putting it out there who they need and what industries and what positions are available right now. So it's also, I want to say that there's always a positive and a negative in a situation like this in the economy. I'm just going to use an example because my husband is a tradie. He's electrical.
So you know all about the struggle.
Yes, but what I want to bring up is in his job, at their work. Currently, this week they employed 2 new electricians. Okay. So their growth, because they do industrial, electrical, and commercial. Okay. So the domestic electricians may be finding that things are going a little slow because people are at home or they've got less money to spend on their home, fixing things up and whatever. Other industries are flourishing. Where my husband is currently working, they do work for a big company that manufactures the pipes on ventilators. So he was working right through lockdown because it was an essential service. Okay. So that specific company has now ordered 8 more machines. Do you understand? So where it might look bleak on one side, it might just, you might just have to open your mind a little bit just to look at other avenues because people are willing to take you on. They understand the situation. So where you might not have exactly the experience, the borders are closed. So they have to look at people that they can upskill quickly. Yeah. And you might have a lot of experience that you could bring to the party, and there's a lot that you could learn that could help you in the future. So I think in this time, it's just about broadening your landscape, just thinking out of the box.
That's right. And I think the willingness of the South African to think out of the box, point one, it's a great attribute towards us. And the other thing is, if you are willing to move, if you live in a smaller town and you lost your job there, which a few of my clients have done, they suddenly can find jobs in Auckland, but some of them don't want to go to Auckland or don't want to do this. I say just do it. Just close your eyes and go for that.
Yeah, I think it's the attitude. We all start off with, look, I understand where it's with a family, that maybe they don't want to uproot the whole family again. The kids have maybe, as parents, we wanna make this as easy as possible for everybody. But I think we all start this journey, even from South Africa, saying, I want to live in so and so, because we had our heart set on Tauranga. We didn't want to. We're from Johannesburg. Yeah, we had our heart set on Tauranga and that area, just from researching and so on. And we said we don't want to live in Auckland. We want to get out of, because we're from Johannesburg. We want to get out of the city kind of vibe. We don't want that fast-paced. We don't want traffic. We just want to. When we come over, we want to live by having quality time and doing things instead of having things. And I think it quickly changes when you get the job offer, because if the job offer comes around after 6 months and it's in Auckland and you don't know if you're going to wait another 6 months for the one in Tauranga, you're going to take the one in Auckland. I think at this point in time, if somebody's willing to take you and you don't tick all the boxes, respect that and be grateful for the opportunity and take it.
That's right. Especially if you are here. So on that note, and I know we're not allowed to talk to this, so we're not going to talk to this, but tomorrow morning, Benita is going to tell us about the changes in the immigration side. So that will really tie up with what you are saying now, just to take the other job. I mean, there's a lot of immigration stories going with that, with the visa stuff, but let's not go there. So, What else should they really change? Except the attitude?
Okay, so Leo, look, I think everybody, I think patience is one thing that we all need to try and implement during this time, because it's a learning curve for everybody. Everybody is learning as we go. So even in my situation, I am reluctant to actually sending clients their CVs at the moment, because I've got many drafts sitting ready. But it's almost like I want to make sure that I'm ticking all the boxes for my clients, So because it's different times. But I mean, I've got clients that are from South Africa that are having interviews with recruiters, which the recruiters are setting up. There's also a website called Work Here. I don't know if everybody knows about it, but they actively go out and look for immigrants. And there's posts from job opportunities that have come up in the last couple of weeks. So those employers know that there is a shortage. So, and like I say, I mean, I'm seeing visas being approved with a arrival. The cutoff for your arrival is just later in the year. So I think everybody has to. You don't take one opinion. Investigate for yourself, because I think every single person's situation is different. If you are in administration and sales, for instance, yes, I think the economy is going to want, and the government's going to want to make sure that we sort out New Zealand's workforce first. But when it comes to essential skills and it comes to people on the long-term shortage list, there is still going to be a shortage which needs to be filled. So yeah, so I think don't take, if somebody, I've seen it so many times that people ask, who can I contact? What other avenue can I open up to get job opportunities? And one person on a comment would say, oh well, I used so and so, and then the next person goes, yeah, but I used them and they just last week they said they're not taking on anybody. That might just be a nice way to say we don't want you, because a week later they are taking somebody on from another country, or so yeah. I think the point that I'm trying to make is don't trust, or not trust, but don't take an opinion as the law. Investigate for yourself. Pick up the phone and get the information firsthand, because people's situations are different.
I think,
So
Leoni,
I hope that makes sense.
at this stage, I just want you to tell the people what you do exactly, so that there's no confusion. If I didn't know what you were doing, I would think probably you could be with immigration side, but that's not why you see people visas coming through.
Okay, yeah. So I help unlock the door. Previous to lockdown and coronavirus, I helped create the key that unlocks the door to your future in New Zealand. So I create that personal brand, that the personal brand that includes your CV, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, that sells you to potential employers. And I've had amazing success, and I think my success comes from my background in marketing and recruitment. So I'm able to bring those two together and merge them and tell a story that's very important to do if you're trying to show an international employer who you are.
That's right.
So yes.
There's always a thing that coming from South Africa, or if you're still in South Africa and finding a job this side, it's really difficult. I've been quite frank. I've seen a lot of people fail, myself included. I sat one night and I just sent, I think, about 300 CVs out to 300 different employers, and I got basically the same answer back from all of them, and it was a big fat no.
Yeah.
Okay. Big.
Yeah. So okay. That's one of the points I wanted to bring up, and I think let's take this into the context. I'm not saying to every single person overseas even. I mean, we wanted to talk about local, but what is very important is the actual job listing. Okay, people get very confused, and I'm saying this from my opinion, and the couple, because everybody's got a different way to understand certain jargon and wording. But from my perspective and the recruiters, because that's the other part that I do, I network with recruiters in New Zealand. So I've got a network of people that I've built friendships with that I can go to and say, listen, I've got an amazing candidate. And the only way I do that is once I've actually rewritten their CV and I feel confident with that, about presenting that candidate to a recruiter. So basically what I want to touch base on here with the actual success rate of your applications, because people get despondent because they get negative feedback when they apply for a job. What they need to bear in mind is to actually read the job listing. If it says, and this is in my understanding, and the recruiters that I've spoken to, what they put into the job ad. So then this could be very different. Like I say, this is just a handful of people's opinion of what the wording means. So it could be something totally different for somebody else. But if the job listing says you need to have the right to live and work in New Zealand, that's basically just a disclaimer. Anybody can apply for that job. You just need to know you have to be legally here. So that means you have to have the right to live and work here. So once you get a job offer, just go through the correct channels, get a work visa that allows you to work and live in New Zealand legally. So that's that piece of jargon. Then you get job listings that say you have to be a New Zealand resident or citizen. So if South Africans are going to apply for that job and get a negative response, then they're setting themselves up for disappointment, because that specific employer is probably not accredited, or they don't want the red tape, or maybe they've implemented a policy within their employment that they've reached a threshold for international candidates or migrants that they've employed, and now they have to employ some locals first. So there's always a reason behind the wording in job listings, and a lot of disappointment can be averted if people actually read it. So if you feel unsure about what something means, pick up the phone, because Kiwis, New Zealand, everybody is very personal. It's still very one-on-one. So right. At 12 o'clock at night, get up, pick up the phone the people, and ask them what they mean by that. Are they willing to take an international candidate? And by that way that you're also putting a name or a person to your name when you send a CV out. So my advice always is just personal. So to touch base again on avoiding disappointment, on feedback. So those are two of the wording on a job listing that you can look out for. Some of them say immediate start. Okay. So immediate start means, because remember, New Zealand works on a week-to-week or maybe bi-weekly, depending on the employer, payment cycle. Okay, or employment cycle. So if it says immediate start and an international candidate from South Africa or a person that's going to have to do a variation of visa is applying for it, I mean, a variation can take, I think the website says 29 days, okay? Yeah. And I mean, under the current circumstances, it's a different situation. And yeah, we can hear more about that tomorrow. But if it says immediate start and you are sitting in South Africa and you're applying for that job, and these people need somebody next week, then you are going to get a negative response. So don't set yourself up for that disappointment, because if you're going to keep applying for only the jobs that say immediate start, you're going to keep getting a negative reply, because those people can't wait. Okay, yeah. So that is definitely
the other thing. So go for those jobs.
Yes. So definitely at this point in time, immediate starts will definitely benefit you. So yeah, I hope I hope those little things in the job listing. The job listings are so important. People don't realize how important part the job listing and what they tell you in that job listing. Everything's there. They should really take time to read every line and make sure that they tick the boxes. And if they're unsure if they tick all the boxes, or maybe they tick 9 out of 10 boxes, pick up the phone them and say, are you still willing to look at my profile? I really feel I'm a strong candidate.
I've got a few questions here. I don't know if you're ready for a few questions. Can I throw them to you?
Let's try.
We've got here, let me see, I just want to go to the other side. Saying, Facebook user saying, I have a response of overqualified. How do I address that?
Okay, so I need to know, is this person in New Zealand, or are they in South Africa?
I don't know.
That okay. So let's try and touch the base on both. If you're applying from South Africa, you have to understand that you have to prove yourself. So a lot of people, and we spoke about this on our last conversation, you have to prove yourself in the New Zealand job market. You have to prove yourself to employers, unless you won the Nobel Peace Prize and you can walk into the top position, then perfect. But there's so much fraud and things going on that just in the sense that people will say they've got a certain qualification, and I'm not putting this out to a specific group of people or whatever, but yeah, you have to prove yourself to the employer. Yeah. So you're most probably going to have to take a step down when entering the New Zealand job market and work your way, or prove yourself and work your way up. So being overqualified, how do you address that on your CV? You downplay the positions that you have had previously. So instead of saying, and I see this with a lot with people self-employed in South Africa, even the tradies, they love to say general manager because they own their own business. I'm using a stupid example now.
Technically they are correct, but this is not what the employer wants. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you know you have to take a step down, and people also find it intimidating. So if you on CVs that I do, I like to, instead of saying, it's all about wording. So instead of saying, let's think of an example now. Instead of saying owner or like CEO, because you're the CEO of your own company, then maybe think of saying sole trader, or saying what's the other word? Contractor, independent contractor. Yeah. That's acceptable. It's not intimidating. So a person that's maybe the owner of the company that's going to look at your CV, if they see you are a CEO now and you're going to be a sales representative, a sales rep, you're applying for a sales rep, and they're gonna feel a little bit intimidated by a person at their level. So it's all about the wording, using the correct words and downplaying it. So if you were a senior manager, just put manager. That all the evidence will correspond with it.
That's right. So there's another question from Natasha saying, I've applied for a few jobs that are advertised by recruiters. When I get unsuccessful, I ask them what about me does not match what they're looking at in order for me to correct it, and they never come back to me. Why is that?
Okay. This is also something we touched base on, and Natasha was on the previous conversation. That's right, we had. Yeah. So this also comes back to the size of the recruitment industry in New Zealand. There's just no time. If you look at the amount of people that apply for a position in a role that is advertised maybe on Seek or Trade Me or even LinkedIn, you're going to get a whole bunch of applications. Because it's, like we say, everybody wants to come to New Zealand. It's not just South Africans. Yeah, Australians want to come here. Everybody, Chinese, Indian, everybody from across the world, even USA. So you are not just competing. You're not just competing South African and local in a position. You're competing across the board from all over the world. So if this recruiter doesn't use applicant tracking software, where this is obviously one of those cases, because she got one-on-one interaction, that's already a plus point.
Yeah.
So in that circumstance, I can promise you, if 600 people ask, can you tell me why I wasn't successful? That recruiter is going to sit for 3 months responding to every single one and telling them exactly why they weren't successful. And it's just not possible.
Yeah. And being a recruiter, I think it's difficult because suddenly you put the post out there and the next minute you flood it with applicants. And I mean, to go to an applicant that's not 100% suited, to tell them the reason why. I mean, I won't
That's
waste
not
my
practical.
time. No.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's not because they're bad people. It's not because they're not nice. It's just not practical. So while we're on this,
don't give up.
Yes, definitely. Don't give up, and don't set yourself up for disappointment. Don't go barking up the wrong trees. If you're unsure of specifics, like I say again, pick up the phone. While we're on this subject, I don't know if there's another question right now, but while we're on this subject,
So we've got about 2 minutes left. So
okay, so maybe quickly touch base on something I mentioned last time again. There are 3 different ways that you can get employment. You're going to go on to Seek, Trade Me, one of those big websites, and you're going to submit your CV. The CV is going to go through AI, artificial intelligence, and it's going to be read by a computer. It's going to come out on the other side with a score. If you don't tick all the boxes with ATS software, mostly your CV gets chucked out and you never hear from anybody again. Or you come out with a score, and if you're in the top 10 to 20 candidates, you have a chance. Then a human will see your CV. The second is smaller recruiters that you actually send your CV to personally. So those are the ones that you need to focus on. Recruitment is big in New Zealand. Employers, if they want somebody, they use a recruiter. So respect their time and put in the effort in each and every application that you do, and you'll get that same time and respect back. So that's the other avenue that you can use. And then the last avenue is obviously networking and contacting people directly. Once again, I would also recommend that you contact recruiters directly, because it's a conversation we touched on last time as well. And maybe people can go back and actually listen to the video. But it's that whole issue of if you've already sent your CV to an employer directly, the recruiter won't be able to get their fee, which they might just then push another candidate forward because they need to get their fees as well, because they've put a lot of energy into it. So it's always important. Pick up the phone. And I think for Natasha as well, I think if she starts connecting with a few people and actually building up relationships with them, and picking up the phone and phoning them once a month and saying, listen, don't you have anything yet? I think by 6 months, this person's going to go, my word, I need to find this lady a job now, because it's like, so yeah. What else?
Leoni, thanks a lot. I just popped that up. This is Leoni. He's a straightforward, kind, and exceptional, helpful. You really are. Thanks a lot for being with us this morning again on 30 Minutes with Jan. We plan to have you back in the future again as soon as things start clearing up. Would you please do us?
Yes.
You've told us about the websites. Will you drop that in the comments down below? Please post your ads as well. What you don't know, behind the scenes, we've been running you on the other South African page we do as well, South African to New Zealand Immigration Support. We've been running you live that side as well this morning. So very first as well. We're doing live on 2 different pages now. As I said, if anything happens, it's not my fault. This is new software we're testing. Leoni, thank you very much. Please post us all your details. people need to use Leoni, please feel free. I mean, she's probably one of the best out there.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leoni.
Bye.
Bye. Guys and girls, that was Leoni all the way from Auckland. She is a person that helps you really set up your CV. She's a person that goes the extra mile, and she has good contacts with recruiters. So if it's in your field and you think really about coming to New Zealand, or if you are in New Zealand, probably the best to get hold of her now. If you've lost your job, always a good thing to get out there as soon as possible. To everybody that listened this morning, especially the guys on the page from South Africa to New Zealand Immigration Support, the first time that we've done a live to that page as well, our normal page, South Africans Moving to and Living in New Zealand, the official group. We're doing these lives every Thursday morning and every Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, we try to reach out to smaller areas. So if you're in a smaller area, it's probably a good idea to call me or get hold of me and tell me about your area. We love to hear about the smaller areas in New Zealand. Guys and girls, my name is Viljoen, all the way from Welcome Bay. That's in Tauranga on the North Island of New Zealand. As you know, we've got two islands, one south, one north. I'm on the north one near Auckland, about 3 hours out. And my job is a financial advisor. I'm not an immigration officer. So please keep that in mind. Don't hit me with any immigration questions. Tomorrow morning on the show, we normally don't do Fridays anymore, but tomorrow morning we're having a 7 o'clock New Zealand time show with Vanita Herbans, our immigration advisor on this page. She's going to tell us about the new laws, the new things that came in. Do not miss this. All right. We'll post ads a bit later about this, so get in there. If the new law is at any way confusing, it's confusing for me. But luckily, I do not need to decipher it. That's why people like Vanita is there. Vanita tomorrow morning on 30 Minutes with Jan at 7 o'clock. Guys and girls, stay good. See you all there now. Thank you. Bye-bye.